Today, everybody, we'll be featuring the best Endgame Warlock build for Season 23, Season of the Wish, and I'll be bringing you through the exotic weapon, the subclass, as well as the armor piece you're going to want to use. And there are a few pieces in the artifact you're going to want to pick up to make sure that this build will dominate in any content you bring it into. And the best part about this build is, the stronger the enemies get, the better it is. Truly, it's a complete build, one of the best featured on this channel so far, so let's jump in. If that sounds good to you, very quickly subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. We've got tons of videos on Destiny 2 and more in the pipeline coming at you. So, let's jump in. If you haven't known already, Polaris Lance and Solar as a whole has been the main focus of this season, and we're going to be harnessing its full potential with this build. First, let's talk about the subclass. For your aspects, you're going to want to run Touch of Flame. This will increase the damage of your fusion grenade, letting it explode twice on targets. And combine that with Heat Rises. This will let you hold to consume your grenade, proccing the buff, and while it's active, you can fire weapons, melee, and throw grenades while gliding in the air. Final Blows will extend the duration as well, and we're going to pair that with Phoenix Dive. And while Heat Rises is active, you gain Restoration ×2. This is extremely beneficial, keeping you alive in all of those endgame activities. And it's one of the rare cases where Warlocks can proc Restoration ×2. So we're going to take advantage of it. And in endgame activities, we're running Well of Radiance. We all know that this is just as broken as it always has been, and we're going to continue to run it. But in those lower activities, those lower end activities, you can definitely run Daybreak and bake those bosses at the end of the activities. But for the survivability, let's run Well. Fragment-wise, we're going all in on ignitions, and we're going to increase the damage and range of them. So let's run Ember of Char, which lets our ignitions spread Scorch. Ember of Ashes, which will let us apply more Scorch stacks, getting those ignitions off faster. Ember of Solace, Radiant and Restoration effects have increased duration, just keeping us alive longer, as well as Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect. So, as you can see here, we're going all in on ignitions. Now, the subclass Incinerator Snap, as well as your grenade, does well at proccing ignitions. But we're going to be pairing Dawn Chorus and Polaris Lance together. Jumping into the weapon, Polaris Lance. The intrinsic trait is the perfect fifth. This perk states that precision hits return ammo to the magazine. Landing 4 precision hits loads a delayed solar explosive round for your next shot. And here's where we're getting all of our ignitions from. That 5th critical shot from Polaris Lance is going to trigger a large AoE explosion, and we're going to buff that with our subclass. Zen Moment with the trait is going to reduce your recoil and flinch, and Dragonfly with the catalyst is going to increase your damage and proc another explosion on the kill. Now, we're going to run Dawn Chorus. This armor perk, Rites of Ember, states that your Daybreak projectiles deal more damage and scorch targets on impact. Unfortunately, for endgame, we're not going to be taking use of that. But it also states your Scorch is improved and you gain a small amount of melee energy when your Scorch damages a target. That's very, very important. Our Scorch is improved, letting us proc ignitions faster and faster. This is totally a endgame viable build, and let's jump into our artifact and see why. We've got a few artifact perks here that we want to grab. Kindling Trigger. This states that Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. This will let us apply even more Scorch than base with our Polaris Lance, as it doesn't apply Scorch and it doesn't have Incandescent, but this will give it pseudo-incandescent. Very, very useful. Next, we want Flint Striker. Rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows grant Radiant. Here's how you see these two work off of each other. You can get precision hits with Polaris Lance to proc Radiant, and while Radiant is active, you're giving it Scorch and scorching unscorched combatants. Next, we want Revitalizing Blast. Causing damage with the solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. This will add a little bit of weaken damage, and it's a debuff, letting you bake those bigger targets, especially in nightfalls, raids, things like that, with those increased AoE explosions from Polaris Lance in our subclass. Now you can see how it's coming together. Next, we want Overload Rocket Launcher. This lets us stun overloads with our rockets, and just gives us a little bit more champion stunning capabilities. And finally, Rays of Precision. While radiant, solar precision final blows cause combatants to ignite. Look at this, guys. It's unbelievable. You've got ignitions, debuffs, solar radiant, and scorch with pseudo incandescent. This build's unbelievable. Let's take off solo operative and unraveling orbs. Throw on Overload Rocket Launcher with this build, and Rays of Precision. Now you can see we've got Overload Rockets, and going over to Barrier, while you're Radiant, you've got Anti-Barrier, and Solar Ignitions cause Unstop. This will let you stun Anti-Barrier, Unstoppable, and Overload champions with one build, freeing you up to use whatever you want in your kinetic slot. As you can see, I'm just going to use a Blinding GL for even better survivability. This is a truly unbelievable build, letting you, like I said, handle anything you need with ease. Increasing unbelievable AoE explosions with our subclass, and adding Extreme Scorch with our exotic. This is a great build, guys. I'm going to show you some gameplay here. Check it out. All right, everyone. I really hope you liked what you've seen. Combining Dawn Chorus, our subclass with Polaris Lance, and our artifact lets you handle any content in the game, completely stomping on endgame nightfalls, GMs, raids, the new dungeon if you want to. This build can do it all. At range or get up close, maybe switch on Sunshot and do what you need to. Again, what we're running is Touch of Flame, Heat Rises, with Eruption, Solace, Ashes, and Char as our fragments. Combining that with Polaris Lance and Dawn Chorus with our seasonal artifact perks here. Kindling Trigger, Flint Striker, Revitalizing Blast, Overload Rocket Launcher, and Rays of Precision. These are getting kind of wacky here, these crazy perk names as we go on, man. But you can see the combination here with our increased ignitions, Polaris Lance, and our artifact perks. This is truly a great build, and I highly recommend you running this for any endgame nightfalls. Thank you all so much for checking out this video. It's a great nightfall endgame build that I wanted to bring to this channel, as it is the featured build and subclass of Season 23. If you want to see any other content and new weapons or builds for Season 23, click through to the channel. We've got tons of them down below. Thank you all so much for checking out this one. Farm for Dawn Chorus, throw on Polaris Lance, and let's farm some nightfalls. Thank you all so much, and please have a great rest of your day, and Happy New Year. See you around.